Welcome to this lower body deload day for your premenstrual and menstrual phases. This is that time in the first and last 3 days of each cycle where we see a significant shift in hormones. This change happens very quickly. It's a sharp decline in hormones, and that's why we might experience those symptoms of PMS or kind of symptoms with the onset of your period. It's that change from high hormones to low hormones that happens very swiftly. In addition to that, we are more prone to an inflammation response, so we are more likely to experience muscle or joint pain and maybe just have kind of a low energy level, perhaps even low mood. So this type of practice is going to keep us in a very low intensity zone, something nice and easy. You'll be at about 50% of your max heart rate, if that. So you're breathing comfortably, not labored at all. And we're working more with targeted isolation in the lower body. So it's not that whole body energy demand that can turn the intensity up. Instead, we're kind of working with more intention and more focus to get some really solid effort, some solid work in the glutes and the legs, but without that energy depletion that can come with a really intense workout. To do that, we are using a mini loop band. So I have the extra heavy rubber band. If you have the fabric bands, those can work. We do have one exercise where we're kind of asking for a bit more stretch in the band, so the rubber ones are great. Just know that if you don't have one of these at home, that's okay. You can always use a headband or a firm sports bra, or you can just do this practice with body weight only and focus on engaging the muscles. So really focus on that concentration with each effort, with each rep, to get the most out of this practice. We have just 15 exercises that we are completing for 1 minute each, and then we have a brief transition period, so about 20 seconds in between, just to change up the body position for the next exercise. You shouldn't really be needing recovery between these exercises because we are staying at that low intensity steady state throughout. This one, because we are in that lower intensity zone, we're sort of in the warm-up mode, that warm-up intensity for the whole way through. You won't find a separate warm-up or cool-down. This one is short and sweet. It's just the practice itself. So we'll jump right in, and then we'll close with a little bit of a stretch in legs up the wall, just to soothe the nervous system, to provide you that little bit of additional relaxation before you head on your way. So let's get started. We are going to get right into this lower body deload day. Just make sure that you have a mini loop band handy, something that has some pretty significant resistance. So I'm using the extra heavy band. I'm using the rubber kind today because we do have some exercises where we are stretching it quite a bit. If you don't have a mini loop band, you can use something like a headband or a sports bra, something with a little bit of stretch. You can also do these exercises using body weight only. We are going to be in our warm-up intensity for most of this practice, so you won't find a separate warm-up or a cool-down. We've just got this short and sweet session to kind of tone the legs, but without over-exerting. So pay attention to your heart rate the whole way through. We have a series of 15 exercises. We'll do each one for 1 minute each, and we've got a quick 10 seconds in between to transition to the next exercise. So it's that nice, continuous, steady state effort. We're starting with our clamshell exercise, so I will get our timer going. We'll begin in about 20 seconds. So you can take your band, place it just above the knee, and then we're going to come into a side lying position. Come onto your forearm, or you can even be all the way down, just supporting your head. I like to bring the knees slightly bent, bring the feet up, keep the inner edges of the feet nice and pressed together. Let's begin. We open it wide, feel that squeeze in the glutes, and come back down. You can let the head rest if that's better. I like this isolation version of this exercise, not trying to add in the plank or any other elements. We're just focusing on the glute. So really squeeze the inner edges of the feet, keep the ball mounds of the feet pressing into each other, and then try to keep some tension on that band the entire way through, so you're not letting it completely relax at the bottom. Got that outer glute toning here. This can be quick or slow. Just really focus on creating that mind-muscle connection. Really experience what it's like to activate the glutes. And breathe the entire way through. It should be nice and easy. You won't find much labored breathing in this practice. We're staying right around our 50% of the max heart rate. That nice low intensity level, and we'll switch sides. So you can just flip to the other side. I'll turn the opposite direction here, and we will begin in about 10 seconds. So I had it mistaken. We have 20 seconds to transition. So a little bit of extra time to set up here. Let your feet lift and open. So keep the feet elevated. Again, inner edges of the feet squeezing together. So you have that kind of stable point. And then we simply rotate the knee up and down. It's that abduction where we create the tone in the glutes. Your bottom leg is stationary, it's stable. And notice what's happening in your low belly. Can you really engage and tone the low belly with your breath? So maybe find those intentional exhales on the exertion. And again, not letting that tension come completely out of the band so that you have a little bit of tension the whole way through. And then that tension kind of changes. It's that variable tension with the mini loop band. Breathing nice and easy here. We've got 3, 2, and 1. We're coming into our bear plank position next. So your shoulders are going to be positioned directly over the wrists. I want you to make sure that your hips are directly over the knees. A common misalignment is bringing the knees too close together. We'll move in 3, 2, 1. Tuck the toes under, and then from here we're simply going to step back into plank and hug it back in to that bear plank. What I want you to feel is enough separation, so you want the knees wide enough apart that you feel a little bit of tension on the band that whole time. Again, try not to step too far forward. We're toning the belly here. Keep the back of the neck nice and long. Notice if your upper back starts to round at all, or if you have any excess curvature in the lower spine. Can you keep it super neutral? Nice straight spine, hips and shoulders stay at the same height the whole way, even as you walk the feet in and out. We're here for about 15 more seconds. Feel that tension as you pull one leg and then the other. So we create that little bit of resistance and back. Last one and rest. From here, I want you to take the band under one of your knees. We're coming into donkey kicks. So you want that band secured under the opposite knee to the leg that is working. What I want you to focus on here is zipping the low ribs and the hip points together. And let's begin. You'll press the sole of your foot straight towards the sky. Keep the hips and shoulders level and try not to arch the lower back. So even though I've been practicing for a long time, I noticed in a workout I filmed recently, even though it felt like I wasn't moving my lower back at all, I was getting a lot of the range of motion from that lower back arch. So can you take it out completely where you have that neutral spine the whole way? It might mean that you don't come quite as far up, but you'll be getting more of that activation in the glute. Breathe here. Again, so you're hugging the hip points up toward the low ribs. That's going to help counter that tendency to overarch the lower back. And it's going to keep it all in the legs and the glutes. And rest. So we'll switch sides now. You can secure your band under the knee that was working, and we'll be moving to the other side. So make sure that it is not going to slide around on you here. Come back into position. Shoulders are over the wrists. And let's begin. We lift it up and back down. So again, you want to keep some tension on that band the whole way down. So don't come so far down that the band loosens all the way. You want to have that little bit of tension the whole way through this movement. And then again, focus on keeping the hip points almost like you're curling the tail under, just to resist that excessive arch in the lower back. Try to hug the belly up and in and not let it round. I can feel it's just that tendency of the glutes and the lower spine. They get a little bit frozen together. We get so used to moving them in the same way that it becomes harder to articulate the glutes without arching the spine. Especially when you're like me, maybe you have some strength gaps in the glutes. This is a great exercise to kind of work that awareness and rest. We're coming now to our single leg deadlift with a reverse lunge. For this one, you're going to place the band under one foot and then take it in the opposite hand. We'll start with our staggered stance into a single leg deadlift. For this one, you're folding the body in half, hinging at the hips. Let's begin. So we take it down to that hip hinge, come up with some power, and then a reverse lunge. So you've got tension on the band the entire time, even through that reverse lunge. It's a deadlift. Feel the power in the glutes, extend, and come back. I like to have my arm out to the side here for that little bit of stabilization and balance support. Make sure that your back is nice and long the entire way through. You've got that neutral neck. Chin isn't gazing forward or tucking in. You should start to feel that accumulation of effort in the working leg as we pulse between the single deadlift and the reverse lunge. 10 more seconds here. Step it back and up. Last 3, 2, and 1. Switch sides now. So take that band around the opposite foot. You'll have the opposite hand now holding that band. Again, we're starting with that staggered stance, and I want you to imagine crown to tail are moving together, lowering at the same rate, lifting at the same rate. Here we go. Take it down halfway, come up, reverse lunge. Now that we're in this standing position, it's a good opportunity to check in with the breath. You should be breathing nice and easy still, not exceeding that 50% or kind of your warm-up intensity. If you need to, you can slow it down, create more time under tension by making each rep just a little bit slower, getting more of that eccentric pause where we are loading, we are lengthening, and spending more time in that phase of the motion. So you have that slow lower, feel the tension on the band, and we pull up, reverse lunge. We're here under 10 seconds, and then we're coming into our lateral walks. 3, 2, and 1. From here, you're going to take that band, once again, place it just above the knees. And this one, we're just going to be walking side to side in that low squat position. And if you need to, at the end of each lateral walk, you can come up to stand if you need that posture break. Here we go. Come into your squat, side step together. Again, keep that time under tension. So you have a little bit of tension in the band, even as you step the feet together. This is a minute interval, so it is a long time to be in that squat position. So if you need to, at the end, you can come up and then come back down just to get that little bit of a posture break, a little bit of the length for the quads and the hamstrings. Here we go. We've got 20 more seconds. Breathing here. Keep the head and chest lifted. You've got 10 more seconds to go. Time under tension. 3, 2, and 1. You can keep that band where it is, just above the knee. We're coming into a staggered stance. We'll come into a staggered squat with a leg extension. So it looks like this. You step it back and lift. You can let your arms be wherever they need to for that balance support. Here we go. 2, 1. Lunge, or excuse me, that staggered squat and extend. So again, your arms are wherever they are most supportive for your balance. And here, I want you to focus on keeping the lower back neutral. For me, I find it sometimes helpful to bring the hands to the hips so that I know I can sort of hold the pelvis in that neutral position and focus that effort on the glute. You might find it helpful to flex that back foot as well to help engage the glute. You can have that slight forward lean, and it doesn't have to be a huge lift with that back leg. It can be just a small range of motion, but a lot of muscle activation. We're looking to appropriately recruit that musculature in the glutes and rest. Shake it out if you need to, kind of let your breathing come back down. You might be kind of a little bit more elevated now that we're in a standing position and we are demanding energy for the larger muscle groups in the legs. We're coming to the second side now, staggered stance. Here we go. Let's begin. Down and extend. So get the movement into your body and then start to refine it. So again, I like to have the hands on the hips for that extension so that I can help keep the pelvis from tilting forward. Instead, it stays nice and neutral. Keep the spine straight and strong. So it does have that slight forward lean, but the effort is all in the glute. Again, doesn't have to be a huge lift with that back leg. You can just get the foot flexed and feel the engagement, that activation of the largest muscle in your glutes. We've got 10 more seconds here. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now we are moving to the wall for some isometric work. Our first movement pattern is going to be a single leg wall sit. You can take this a few different ways. You can just bring one leg up onto the toes, or you can extend it all the way out. Let's drop down, hips aligned with the knees. Back is nice and flat. Here we go. It's that single leg wall sit. If you need to, you can have just that kickstand. This is a long interval. It is a minute long, so we want most of the work to be in one leg, and we have just light weight on the toes of the other foot. If you can, you're extending all the way out. My legs are feeling pretty toasty, so I'm just going to stay in that kickstand shape. Brace the belly, curl the tail slightly under, press your shoulders into the wall. You might even lift the toes, press into the heels, and then feel that little bit of tension on the band. Can you press into it a little bit to activate the legs? We're here for just about 10 more seconds. You got this. And then we have a little posture break. We'll have our 20-second rest, and then we'll come into the other side. 2 and 1. Slowly come out, shake out the legs. So not a super intense demand from your heart and lungs for that one, but definitely feeling the isometric load in the legs. Let's come back down. And we're switching sides. So kickstand one leg. Make sure your hips are level with your knees or slightly below. Curl the tail under. Press your shoulders into that wall. Start to create that sense of calm in the presence of this significant challenge. Press down through the working heel. Lift the opposite heel up. Maybe even lighten the load in those toes. You might have the leg outstretched. Keep a little bit of tension on the band here. And breathe. This is our last series of movements at the wall. So you're in the home stretch of this quick lower body session. We get some isolation, some targeted, focused work where we don't have to do a lot to get so much from this practice, especially during this time in the cycle, where excessive exercise can actually have the reverse effect and rest slowly come up, where if we are depleting our resources in a metabolic state that is already prone to being catabolic, we might actually lose muscle in this phase of the cycle. So instead, we tone it down, come back to your wall sit, keep the band, and begin. We're just creating that abduction out and out. Curl the tail under, press your shoulders into that wall. So I love this type of practice. It helps you show up. It helps you find the fire if you're someone who really kind of gets energized by movement. This is a really safe way to do that in those last few days before your period arrives, and even in the first few days of your flow. Very gentle. We're staying at that low intensity the entire way. Low intensity, but I tell you what, I'm definitely feeling the legs. Low intensity in the systemic sense, meaning that we don't have that whole body experience, that breathlessness, but we are in isolation mode here. Last 3, 2, and 1. Slowly come up. Now we're going to transition to a wall bridge. So we're going to come with the hips to the wall. You're going to turn the legs up, plant the feet, bend the knees, and we're simply coming into a wall bridge lift. So we press the feet into the wall and lift the hips. Make sure that your neck is neutral. You're not gazing side to side, and make sure that you're not arching the back at the top. So you have the front ribs pulling in and you're just squeezing the glutes. Really press into the wall like your feet are holding that wall up. You can drive through the heels a little bit more and keep some tension on that band. So you have the legs wide enough apart that you feel just that slight bit of resistance. Lift it up and back down. We're in this dynamic version for the first minute. We'll take a brief rest and then we'll pulse it out to finish. Take it down and up. Breathe in and out. Again, try not to lose the focus on the core integration here. And rest. Take a load off your glutes for a moment, and then we have 1 more minute of work. We're going to come up and pulse the knees out. So that wall bridge with the abduction there. Here we go in 2, 1. Lift the legs up and pulse. So you're holding that strong glute bridge. You've got the belly drawing in and you're pushing the wall away. So we have a lot of things happening at once here. The push into the wall, the squeezing of the glutes to lift the hips off the mat. And then we have the pulse. It's a tiny pulse, but you're keeping a little bit of tension even as you come in. You still have that stretch on the band as you come in. This is your last exercise. Really start to turn your focus inward. Stay in the presence during the challenge. So resist the urge of your mind to wander or to want to leave when it gets hard. Can you stay in it? Can you notice something new? Where do you feel your body working? Last 3, 2, and 1. Slowly lower it down. You can take your band off, set it beside you, and then we'll just enjoy a little bit of a stretch with the legs up the wall here. So if you can, scoot your hips until they're touching the wall, and we'll keep the left knee bent, hug your right knee into your chest. From there, extend the right leg straight up, press the sole of the foot skyward. Encourage the back of your right thigh toward your belly, your chest. Might even reach for the toes if that feels good, flexing the foot, stretch the back of the calf. And then we'll turn that right knee out to the side, reach for the inner or outer edge of that foot, come into half happy baby. So top of the right thigh anchors to the mat beside you. Feel that deep stretch in the inner thighs, the hips. Stay in each of these stretches for 20 to 30 seconds until you feel kind of that release. That's the relaxation response. And so that's what we're looking for to kind of resolve the practice. Then slowly cross right ankle over left knee. Bend your left knee a little more deeply. Use your right arm to dial the right knee open. Keep that right foot nice and flexed. And then use this container, so the boundary of the wall, to push that left foot into the wall and deepen the stretch. You should feel this right in the good zone of the right outer glute, especially after the band work for today. I love this type of practice with that mini loop band to kind of isolate the glutes in a way that's really accessible, in a way that we can really kind of perceive and become more aware, so that we're creating that neural connection, that neural pathway to fire the glutes in a really powerful way. Last big breath here. And then we'll switch. So right foot to the wall, take your left knee to your chest, and then extend that left leg up. Flex the left foot, press the sole of the foot skyward, and encourage that left leg toward you. Feel that nice gentle pull in the hamstring. Flex the quad to signal that response, that relaxation response in the back of the leg. And then start to turn the left knee outward, bend into that left knee, half happy baby. Let that leg be really heavy and use your left hand to pull down on that left foot. Keep your pelvis neutral here, so it's going to want to twist to the left, but can you keep both hip points facing straight up? And breathe even more deeply here. And then we'll cross left ankle over right knee. Once again, kind of bending the right knee more deeply. And then using your hands to press the left knee open. Get more of that 90-degree bend. Feel that deep stretch in the outer left hip. You can even rotate the hips slightly to the right to deepen that sensation if you need it. And breathe. So this legs up the wall shape can be very relaxing during this time in the cycle, especially if you experience any low mood, any feelings of anxiety or kind of overwhelm. This allows more blood to flow back to the heart, which then slows the heart rate down and elicits more of that relaxation response, or the parasympathetic nervous system, which allows our bodies to rest and digest. This is a great time for this type of practice when your body is very busy supporting your reproductive mission or that reproductive purpose. So even in the absence of pregnancy or the desire for pregnancy, there's this creation, this creative flow that's happening inside, and that takes a lot of energy. So allow yourself to relax here. Release that stretch, shake out the legs. We'll enjoy one final straddle stretch. Just let your legs come out wide. Here, if you can, just soften and release the weight of your legs to gravity. And notice any gripping that you have around the base of the pelvis, the pelvic floor. Can you relax there? You might even support the outer legs if that helps facilitate more relaxation in the pelvis. So one can be a great one for alleviating cramps by helping to relax the musculature that supports the pelvis. And then as you're ready, simply roll to one side. In your own way, start to press up to a comfortable seat. And this is where we will close our practice for today. Give yourself a shimmy and a shake. Maybe just check in briefly. Notice anything that has shifted for you, anything that you are taking away from this practice, what you want to carry into the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and either the rest of this cycle or the beginning of the next one. So thank you so much for showing up for your practice during this time in your cycle. I know it can be a tricky time, and I honor you for being here. Thank you for sharing your practice with me and for letting your body be moved.